Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul.
This is Senex.
And we are bringing you another game from the FRB Grand Tournament. This is, in fact, Game 2 between GoSuViBe and NMxMaSa. The previous game, Vibe pulled out with the victory, so that means if he wins this one, he will go on to the next series in the tournament.
Absolutely, and Masa really showing some pretty decent play. He was able to get a lot of early harassment in, but unfortunately GoSuViBe's macro just kicked into total high gear in the end. He was able to put a lot of pressure on his opponent's third base and fourth, and so he was able to then expand a lot behind that and come ahead with the win.
And it looks like actually a little bit of balanced discussion going on there. Very interesting to see these professional players talking about how Protoss would be the most overpowered. So that's
they're talking about how one base with 15 probes of being full saturation would be a distinct advantage for them, though one thing that Protosses do have to worry about is that if they are just constantly chrono boosting probes, they will eventually kind of max out the value that they're getting per base, and until they expand, they will not be able to get any additional benefit from having that.
Yeah. Alright, so just so you guys know, this is Braxis Delta, which is actually created by Baron, another map made by Baron, and it's actually a really fun map to play on. It's very easy to take expansions. As you can see here, we do have a base just slightly actually within your naturals, so very easily defended by just the natural structure of the base, and easy to take that expansion.
Yeah, and we do see that both players are probably going to be going for that. Vibe has already thrown down his hatchery first right there, and right now Masa is going for the barracks right in the front, though he is taking a gas, which implies that he wants to do at least something a bit tech-oriented, though the drone is able to sneak right in and will be able to scout that gas and critically count how many harvesters are currently working it, because the difference between 1, 2, and 3 harvesters in a fewer resources per base map working the gas is enormous.
Yeah, I mean, one SCV on gas can get you Reapers, I think, or maybe 2, and then 3 basically equals Banshees, or something a lot higher tech. So, in this case, I really don't think that that Masa will go for Banshees, but it's possible. I mean, you know, he's got those 3 in the gas. He is making a factory, and that's actually a reactor right there. So he's just instead going for his reactored Hellion build that he chose to go for in the last game. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good idea. Doing a 2-base on this map, a little bit more difficult. The long rush distance obviously makes that difficult, and then of course getting into the main base is, you know, very difficult because the expansion is within the main base, so it's naturally defended.
Yeah, but trying to push up that one small choke into your opponent's main can be a kind of hard proposition. You need to very specifically tailor a build to break that if that's what you decide you want to do. We do see that the barracks is lifting off, swapping places with the factory, and right now there is enough minerals for Masa to be expanding soon, though he has dumped those into a starport, into 2 Hellions, and into a tech lab.
There we go. So it's very likely that he'll be getting Banshees, and I actually said that he wouldn't, but I guess he's going to throw me for a loop here. So this could be really effective harassment. I mean, Hellions are obviously going to be able to take out so many Zerglings quite easily, and then along with the Banshees, they just do so much DPS, especially against the lower health units.
Yeah, we do know that Vibe had a lot of trouble dealing with those Hellions in the previous game, particularly because he delayed Metabolic Boost, which he did again this game. The Hellions are already hitting the field, and it's still going to be more than a minute before the Metabolic Boost is done. And actually, these Hellions moving right up the ramp, getting a couple of good shots off on the Zerglings, and dealing a pretty good amount of damage.
Yes, indeed, it does look like NMxMaSa will make it into the main base of GoSuViBe. Of course, there are 2 queens that are being pulled back to defend his drones, and losing a couple drones right there. Let's take a look at the workers kill tab. Currently, 4 drones have been killed by these Hellions. Of course, it does get cleaned up by these queens.
Though the pressure isn't over yet, 2 more Hellions moving in, a couple more slow Zerglings spawning, but they're really not going to be all that effective against the just mobility that Hellions offer. A pretty good surround attempt, almost catches one, but is not quite able to finish it off. And right now these Hellions are moving into the natural expansion, looking to barbecue a couple more workers.
Yes, indeed, and actually the workers turn around in rebellion, decide to take out 1 Hellion. There's currently only 1 Hellion left. With the queens and the Zerglings, I do not think it will live to see another day.
And Zergling speed is finally done. However, the Banshees with Cloak are on the way, so it's going to be very important for Vibe to start dropping the tech that he will need to deal with that. He really needs an evolution chamber. There's absolutely no time for him to wait for the lair to finish. The Banshees will be in his base killing stuff. Literally, if he dropped the evolution chamber right now, he'd only barely make it, so it's going to be very bad for him if he doesn't decide to do that soon.
Yeah, NMxMaSa moving out with even more Hellions currently. 4 Hellions on the map, producing 2 more, as well as these Banshees. It's going to go ahead and clear up the Zelnaka Watchtowers, which actually doesn't have any Zerglings on it at all. So just making that precautionary effort to continue to surprise his opponent.
One definite advantage that he got by that early Hellion aggression is that he made it sure that his opponent had no map control. This Banshee was able to fly on the absolute most perfect straight path right into his opponent's natural and not be spotted. There are a whole bunch of roaches currently out on the field, but they're going to be totally useless against the anti-air, or as for anti-air, which is what is desperately needed by Vibe right now. He has no detection. The Queen's being targeted down just so quickly. There is a lot of roaches, but they need to just commit to the counterattack. If he's going to stay in this, it's critical for Vibe to get in and do some damage to his opponent while he techs to where he can beat the Banshees.
Yeah, NMxMaSa is doing a great job with this Banshee, and there goes down 2 Queens. Of course, it looks like Vibe is actually making 2 more Queens for defense, and that evolution chamber is only just barely over halfway finished right now.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of Zerglings now running across the field and a couple of Banelings being morphed, though we do have Masa's Banshee hanging out actually in front of the ramp, which is a very good decision. He'll be able to use that to target down Banshees before they can hit his wall, and it's really going to be important for him to try to defend this. He's actually expanding as no like armored units or anything like that to try to deal with this attack, so this might actually be a very effective counterattack by Vibe.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be very effective, but in the end, I mean, look at our Zerg player. Actually, okay, never mind. I was gonna say Zerg is getting completely stomped right here, but our Terran player actually choosing to defend here, wants to keep his SCVs alive, lifts up that command center, and instead uses his SCVs to attack and contain these roaches for just a little while. And the wall is finished off again because the tech lab was being produced. Now it does look like these Banshees are gonna manage to get in here and take out a ton of Zerglings. Meanwhile, there's a huge amount of Hellions in the base of Vibe and manages to take out, I think, every single worker.
Yeah, there are no drones currently on the field, though only 1 SCV is left on the field. However, GoSuViBe is forced to GG just because he knows that his opponent, if absolute worst case scenario, will be able to lift off his buildings and continue to pick off the Zerg's owned buildings with his air units.
Alright guys, well, that was a pretty good game. I think we're going to go ahead and move into the last and final game of this best 2 out of 3.
Alright, we'll see you in a moment.